Yes, I would like to welcome those of you who have been watching us across the globe, and I'm sure that this program have been a great, tremendous, have been of tremendous blessing to you. Not to tautologize. However, I would like to say to us that this lecture on high impact leadership is a lecture that is structured to help organizations, governmental organizations, corporate organizations, banking, um, uh, um, companies of various levels. It's targeted towards helping the management and the personnel to be able to run the organization effectively. And so the principles that we are sharing is on it's quarterly on high impact leadership, of which anyone who occupies a leadership role anywhere in the world in any team or government or organization can ease their burden and also help their organization to run effectively. And of course, now I have before me ministers of God, founders of churches who are like pioneers of companies. We have people who are company executives, chief executives, chairmen of companies, people of various office in office ladder and status, looking at the same thing. But each person is applying this to their various industries. Now we have looked at high impact leadership, and I will be taking questions now on high impact leadership as relative to various industries. And after that, we're going to be looking at, building a mega corporation. And in the case of talking about church, what we can do to build a mega corporation so that the products that we sell will be known in the city, in the nation, and as well as it will be profitable to us. And then before the end of the day, we'll be looking a lot more into running an organization purposefully. That is the role of purpose in success or demerits or failure of institution. I may talk about Parmalat and the reason for their collapse, and I may talk about the governance of Unilever compared with BP, petroleum, along in this lecture. So you are very welcome to join us, whatever level of leadership you are in the world. Now, to us, I want us to look at a few questions now. Because I have less than 30 minutes, we look at a few questions and I introduce you to building a mega corporation, in this case, a mega church. And then we'll look at, we'll move into that after our break. Pastor Adisa said he has a question. Can I have a microphone from the audio team for Pastor Adisa, or anybody who has a question on all I've taught to date? If I reflect our mind to the things that we have looked at, we looked at different styles of leadership, 7 types of leadership, and how that is applicable within our context of leadership. We also looked at, we ended up by looking at transformational leadership and servant leader yesterday. We also looked at few areas of who is a high impact leader. Definition of leadership. We looked at the 7 key characteristics of a high impact leader. We looked at authentic leadership. Purpose-driven leadership was introduced yesterday. We looked at pattern of leadership, and we looked at the area of culture and cultural changes that could be affected in leadership. So, and today we have looked briefly on high impact leadership qualities. So, any question in this area, please?
Thank you very much, Dad. Looking at the transitional leadership, the transformational leadership, and the servant leadership.
Put your microphone up.
Yeah, looking at these 3 all together, right,
Yes.
from the transitional, the transformational, and the servant leadership. Of what aspect of interwoven relationship will these 3 have in one aspect of not using the 3 at the same time, but trying to use one for a purpose?
Say that again.
The transitional leadership,
Yeah.
the transformational leadership,
Yes.
where the aspects of the lives of people have to be
Yes.
transformed.
Right.
And then the servant leadership, where you
Yes.
use the book of Mark, chapter
Yeah.
9, where Jesus talked. Can these three altogether interwoven? I'm sure you get what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so you have the transformational leadership,
yeah, the transformational,
and then
and then
transactional,
the transactional, and then the servant leadership.
Okay, whether they can
Now,
intersect.
whether they can intersect, because looking at the book of Mark, chapter 9, where Jesus was talking about leadership and whosoever want to be, and then coming to the area of submission, trying to serve, is there any way, can these three work together, or does it have to be on an independent operation?
Yeah, I think let me look at the whole leadership that we looked at. We looked at heroic leadership, and then that's the heroic theory. Then we looked at the traits theory, which looks at leadership, believe that leaders are born and they have traits. We looked at behavioral theory that talks about the fact that you can develop behaviors of people to adapt to a context of scenario for leadership. That is, the contextual or scenario determines style of leadership. And then we looked at transactional leadership, which is hire and fire. And then we look at transformational leadership, which is the leadership that help the team member to achieve their purpose, the same common goal. Then we looked at the servant leadership, which is leadership by example. Now, you will discover that this may take me to teach you about Powis. You will discover that in some culture on earth today, heroic leadership is the answer. In some cultures, they want a hero, and they will follow a hero. But the disadvantage is when the hero dies, you remember, the vision dies. And you have that a lot in the Church of God Global, and because of the culture. And then you have it in some countries like third world countries. They look for hero. The people look for hero. So in that sense, it is what the people are looking for that triggers the kind of leadership. But you understand that the trait leadership as well. If I apply that to politics, what politicians always try to do is to establish their rulership by traits, telling people that this person had done this, done this, done this, done this, done this, so he can deliver this and this and this and this and that. And people follow them because they can say, oh, he has a track record. Oh, then he can do what he's saying. And they win the heart of the populace by trade. However, if you look at industries, trade theory or heroic leadership will crash an industry. Because an industry will employ people who have traits. When they interview you, what they are looking for is the traits that could be attached to the level of responsibility they are giving you. However, a successful industry will also have platform to train people, which introduces you to behavioral theorem, that everyone can be made leaders so that they can change the behavior of people according to context. And the reason for this is because we haven't gone into this yet, because tomorrow, next month, we'll get into it. When we look at your organization, your internal stakeholders, and your external stakeholders, organization focuses not only on internal stakeholders, but also the external stakeholders. You focus on your internal stakeholders, which are your staff and everything, or church for members and stuff, to develop them, to build them and stuff, to make them competent. However, you must appeal to the external stakeholder, which is, one, the government is an external stakeholder, your community where you are, and companies that are competing with you. They have stake in you. What about the shareholders and the rest of them? But we will look at how that reflects in the church. And because of that, an organization, having seen the traits, we have a platform to develop leadership, training programs, internal and external. But in organization as well, we have two aspects of leadership structure in organization. There's the organization that follow hire and fire, transactional leadership. That is, the man who employ you will structure your employment around your need to make money. So that you are afraid that if you don't deliver, you lose your job. And that is what they use to help you to do the job. In such organization, there's a company I will not mention because, I've studied their corporate governance and it's terrible. And one of our youths here, I will mention the name, worked in the senior level and came back to me, who also had LLM in corporate governance, came back to me to tell me what they do, and what they do is totally rubbish. And that company may fold up shortly. They will certainly have problems. And what they do is this. They promise you training and all stuff, and when you get into the organization, no training, but they will expect you to deliver. That is transactional leader. They will create employment or create job for you according to your need, so that they will use that your need to make you work, because if you don't work, you will not get money. They can hire and fire you. So when they give you first warning, you will sit up. Second warning is well. But let me tell you something too. In law, people who understand employment law, they are not lawyers, but they understand employment law. Okay, they know how to manipulate people like that and take them to tribunal. I won't go beyond that, so that I will not be inciting workers to take their employers to tribunal. But that's a bad leadership. You have it in church also. You have some church leaders who will just hire and fire members of the staff. You can't hire and fire church members because they are voluntary. But people who work with them, you will also always see new people every 3 months or every 1 year, because they hire and fire. They don't have tolerance. They have no quality of high impact leadership. So they can't deliver, they fire them. That's it. But it's a bad style of leadership, especially in the world today. It is the world today and the context, what they call VUCA. The context that surrounds the world today it teaches us in executive platform to recognize that if any company wants to flourish on earth today, they can only do so by transformational leadership approach. Transformational leadership approach is an approach that the leader will level with the members, share with them the vision, the purpose, define purpose, so that people are not appointed to work without knowing what should they do. Okay? Every office is defined so that people know their limits, their boundaries, and they will not contest with other people. Like a leader may not be doing something which another leader should be doing and say that, but I think that is what I should do. You don't think. You structure them, you define them. However, you give a common assignment to everybody, and you trust everybody, even those who are weakling. And that's what we're going through. In the midst of this, you observe those who do not have an ability, so that you don't commit to their hands what they are not able to do. While you create a training facility, adaptive environment for them to be trained in the area they are lacking, and maybe pair them up with somebody who is good in the area, so that they can shadow the person until they become, at least reasonably good, if not an expert. Whereas you give people only areas of assignment that they are qualified to do while you are training them. Now, you don't care whether after training them they leave your organization, because I didn't talk about that. A transactional leadership, because he's interested in making everybody successful, that's a transactional leadership. Now, there are many people you will make successful, but they will leave. What are they? They are your residue for the future. Because some of them will go into other industry, they become chief executive before you know it, and one day you go to that industry, you are looking for help, and they are the ones sitting over it. And because you have trained them as a transformational leader, the moment they hear your name, they will rise from their seats. Everything you need in that organization, you get it. So we discovered that this is how, there is a scam in UK, and I think also in the US, that the chief executive, CEOs, have a ring, and they just move among themselves from one company to the other. Are you with me now? The fact is that the CEOs that have such ring have passed through one another along their climbing up. So then they know one another. We get it now. So transformational leadership is such leadership that is just interested in the success of every member. All right? And I told you that one of the advantages of such leadership is that every member of the team will have liberty to deliver their job. Okay? They will not be afraid to make mistakes. Because when they make mistakes, somebody doesn't bash them. While you correct them, you show them in correction why you made mistake. And then you give them what to do to remedy the mistake, and then tell them to go and do it again. So that they will do it, and they will remedy their mistake, and they come. And when they come, you give them a nugget. You praise them for achieving it. And a transformational leader, having been at the background, moved the whole team, and the whole team are successful, he applauds the team, not a man. He does not applaud himself because you are the leader. In this church, we do have a workers' dinner every year where we appoint people who are best performed to receive prizes. And no leader should receive a prize, because the intention of that is to establish the mentality of transformational leader. So it is the leaders in the group that will appoint members who were outstanding. So the transformational leader works to ensure that all his team members are successful, and when the glory comes, it's for the team. They will get it now. So, however, servant leader is the ultimate, which is, if you look at the attributes of servant leader, you will find transformational leadership in a servant leader. Because a servant leader is a mentor who will pick up people and mentor them. All information he has, he gives to them. He will do the job before them so that they understand how to do it. They work together. What I will say is that for church growth, inevitably, for a church to grow, you need transformational leadership skill and servant leader. And you find that in Christ completely. You'll find that in industries that succeed. Like, I don't know whether we have time to look at few industries like Uber, all right, or like Airbnb, or like, Unilever. I talk about Unilever a lot because I did my papers on Unilever. Why Unilever spread all over the world. And maybe we look at Parmalat. Parmalat was a big dairy company that thrived in the 60s and stuff like that, and they crashed suddenly because of one-man show. That's what crashed it. Okay? And the last financial crisis we had was because of one mistake, which a transformational leader must not do. You remember one of the things that I said to you is that you must have a system whereby you evaluate your impact regularly. You have a long-term goal. You break your long-term goal into short-term achievement, and then you break it to daily achievement. And you must have a system that weekly, monthly, you can check what you have done this week. Is it in line with your ultimate goal? So the mistake made that caused the financial crisis was that there is a man, I won't mention his name now, but when we look at it, we look at details, because of some of you who did banking and some of you who did MBAs and stuff, you will agree with me. And that man wore two caps. He wore the cap of management, and he wore the cap of the worker. And that's a bad governance. You can't be a trader and be the supervisor of the trader. That's terrible governance. So, and because he was making money, and suddenly they did not know he had started making loss. And he made billions in losses. And the whole economy of the globe crashed. So, we must understand the best approach to leadership is transformational leadership, all right? But embedded in it is the servant leader, because that's what Jesus was. That is just the answer to that. Yes, you have a question? Yes, let me answer. Those who have questions, stand up. So I have 1, 2, and 3. And then we will stop for this session. Because you know there are some people who generate question from question. That is what is called integrated or integral question. Let me have you.
Thank you very much for all that we've been learning for the past few days. The question I have is in two folds, and it's around leadership styles. So say, for example, someone has listened to what you've been teaching us, and they've decided that, look, I believe I should be a transformational leader or servant leader.
Yes.
So that's the person's decision. However,
put your microphone in the matter. Yeah.
So that's the person's decision.
Good.
However, they find themselves in an organization where maybe they're in middle-level management, and they want to apply transformational and servant leader
approach.
That approach. However, their CEOs, their directors, are pure transactional, and all the structures in place in the company are purely transactional. So how does that person in middle management who wants to be transformational handle that? So let me put that in the church context, and this is just an example. It's not focused at any church. So say, for example, there's a pastor who is like a branch pastor, and they've now decided that, okay, I want to be transformational in my approach. However, the church structure is so transactional that they're getting so much pressure to say, look, all these things you're doing, we don't have time for that. Deliver. How do they address that, where the pressure from above is transactional and they're being held to the
you have to function in it.
Yes.
But
you don't want to do that because it's not really right as a transactional. How do you, as someone in that context, middle level management or as a branch pastor, how do you address that? How do you deal with that?
Yes. All right. Let me answer you. I think I mentioned the name of the company that this applies to. I can in law because it's the truth. Yes, it's online. I must say it. I have the right in law to do that because I did research on them and I can prove it in the court of law. I have the right in law. Senior fellow? Yes, I have the right in law. Okay, there is a lot of appeal here that I should choose not to. Let me use an acronym for them. Now, this is it. Let me just answer your question. And that's the reason why the brother used church too, because he doesn't want the industry he's talking about to. This is it. Now, let's look at a structure that is a company structure or an organizational structure. The boss doesn't care how you get things done. He hire or fire you. Yes? That's what you're talking about. So, what is the ultimate aim of hire and fire? Deliver. And deliver to time. However, the method is what is problematic. So if I was employed in a system where the boss is hire and fire, I would transform that leadership by inserting the transformational leadership approach to what I'm delegated to do. The distinction between me and my team will be that the boss will recognize that many people that came have left with him because hire and fire don't retain people for long. They don't have long-term vision. That is what transactional leadership is. Their vision is short time and it must be done short time and that's it. You can't get it, they sack you. So in transactional leadership company, people don't stay too long, they go. They do not train their people. And people can't ask many questions unless you have delivered. So now, if I am now under them, they will give my section a job to do. I have my own team. Among my team, I will establish transformational leadership. Create an atmosphere where my team members know that I am not after them losing job, I'm after them getting promoted. And I'm after equipping them and creating enabling environment for them to function, helping them in the area of their weaknesses and giving them opportunity to use their skill. So what will happen to my team in the whole organization is that I will give back to a bunch of people who are excited to do the job instead of others who are morose. A people who are innovating different methods to get the job done. And a people who, if they give us 12 months to do the job, they can deliver it in 6 months. When my boss sees results, he will ask, what are you doing? And also see that other sections, all the people within 1 year, they have changed staff by 4, which costs company money. Because you have to retrain them, at least it costs you money. You have to reorient them and stuff like that. They will see that in my own section, they are all the same people, year in, year out, and I can fight for them with the executive that, look, these guys, they have made money, I need a bonus for them, and my executive will never be able to do away with me, because if they do, companies as good as closed down because of my results. And that's the way it's done. I was in George Wimpy. I was sharing with some people just a few minutes ago. I worked with George Wimpy in Nigeria as a site agent, and the first construction in Abuja, Nigerian new capital, I was a supervising agent for it, and it was the FCDA base camp. And at that time, President Obasanjo was doing his first midterm when he was president as a military man. And they gave the project was 18 months. And when Obasanjo came down, he said that he wants the project finished in 1 year. So my director called me and said, look, Alfred, how are we going to do this? I said, sir, give me a time. And I went to the drawing board. I looked at all the project plan and all stuff like that. And he just said to me, this is the plan. Accounting section, you manage them. QS, you manage them. Civil, building, you manage them. M&E, you manage them. I want the job delivered. So the first thing I did was to look at the structure, to look at all the operations and stuff, and I came up with a plan to finish it within 9 months instead of 18 months, which means that my company will make more profits of staff that they will have retained for 18 months. The approach, one of it is that in that place, it was transactional leadership, that workers are afraid to do job. And I told you in transactional leadership, when the boss is coming, people will be doing work. When he goes, they relax. So it never gives you good yield. But when I got there, I first had to demolish all the separation, segregation between the account, finance, and the QS. You know, we don't know who is to do the bill of quantity. Bill of quantity is done by QS, and the accountant is saying that no, it's my job. And also, all those dichotomy, I drew line over them. Then I recognized that the way they operate there, the boss will instruct somebody to instruct suppliers. And suppliers will come, he will make a deal with the gate man, and he will make a deal with the guy to supervise him. And if you say that, you know, where they should deliver 10 loads of tipper, they will deliver 5, and they will share the money of 5. And how do they deliver it? They will tip all the 10 loads in one portion, and then it will just be a volume. So when I got there, I first told the leadership, I'm now the head of everything. The accounting section, I will go to the junior accountants and look at what they are doing and give them my ideas on how to do it better, which their boss feel it is humbling. I give instruction, they deliver. I don't do that. I haven't known about transformational leadership. I went to the QS and helped them. I went to the civil, helped them, setting out engineers, helped them, and the rest of the team. By the time I finished with my restructuring, I came out with another timeline, and we finished the job in 6 months. So the whole project now took 9 months instead of 12 months that the government required. When Obasanjo came to my site at the time, he just said that, he just called my director and said, we're going to Abuja now. Boom, before you know it, they were there. We expected them in the afternoon, they came in the morning. And when he got to the site, I said, where's the site agent? They said that I'm on the field. You know, in those days we used Suzuki, this Suzuki, small Suzuki stuff. And he drove the Suzuki, he came. I was working on septic tank and sockaway. Okay. I had my surveyor under me who is doing the setting out with the civil man and the structure man. But you see, the structure man will give instruction about the steel work, but he will not go to physically supervise the ganga man doing the steel work. But I was in the pit while my assistant was up doing setting out to get it accurately. So when Obasanjo came, the president said, where is the site agent? We said, that is him. And he stood there with my director looking at me, doing the job. That is servant leadership. Doing the job of ganga men. Those are the people who should put steel together, set it to make sure that it's well aligned before they pour concrete. Until they pour the concrete, using the boning rod to make sure that there's no bubbles until it's set. And Obasanjo waited with my director. When he came out, he said, are you the site agent? I said, yes, sir. Follow me. We went to the office. He said, explain to me what's going on. Took me to the account section. I told him everything. Took me to the QS. I told him everything. Took me to all sections. You know, every staff were happy to work by the time I finished with them. And they were happy to exchange information, which they were hoarding before. You know, Obasanjo looked at my director and said that you need this one. And he went. My director called me after going and gave me a brand new Ford Cortina. You remember Ford Cortina? Ford Cortina as a gratitude. My director was Ian McGregor, a British man, Englishman. So the style of your management may not be the global style of your institution. However, if you apply your style of management, you will deliver more than transactional, faster than transactional. And the morale of the staff, the most, the happiest thing with transformational leadership is that your staff will love to work. They wake up in the morning, they are happy to go to work because it's another excitement. Because there is sense of purpose, there is definition of vision, clarity of vision, and everybody's working circumspect. Yes. Yes. Pastor. Apostle. Where is the microphone, please?
There is a case study.
Yes.
Of a church here in this country.
Yes.
Where the headquarters was in Lagos or in Nigeria. And the church was having problem with two of their former pastors, and they brought in this pastor who I know. And what he did was, the rivalry groups, he befriended all of them. When this one came, he said, no, that's not what we're here for. We want to make progress with it. So everybody was happy to work. And then he moved the church numerically, financially ahead. But what he got was not what you explained, sir.
What did he get?
They saw him more like somebody intimidating their work, and he had to be removed.
Yes, I will give you an answer to that.
So, because
very delightful answer to that.
So
this is the answer. If I was working in PwC, I didn't want to mention names, and I found out that PwC promised me transformational leadership style, and I got there and I found transactional leadership. The first thing I would do is to confront all the approach, because it's contrary to my contract. That is to bring to books everything that I'm doing and everything they ask me to do, and write a proper report that the approach cannot achieve the aim, and that what they profess is not what they are. But I'm on my way out. However, when I'm there, they will know it. It will be written, it will be filed, and I will confront it. So, when I get my result, and they now come up with this, their schism and politics, that has to do with the behavior and culture. We'll deal with that in the next lecture. I told you about, you go to a company, they have a particular culture, a particular set of way they do things, And how could you change cultural behavior in organization? It's transformational leadership. However, if they refuse, I know I'm on my way out. When I leave there, the success I achieve there, I take it to another company. But for minister, the minister needs to ask himself, ask the Lord, Lord, what are you telling me? Do you want me to go and join another church and pray and hear vision? That is where you can fast and pray to see. If you do that, the Lord will tell you what to do and where to go. And in this case, if the Lord says to you to start a ministry, all this knowledge you have will grow that ministry if it worked in that ministry. Are you with me now? Because we must understand that when it comes to church growth, churches that their leaders have made name, people go there not because of the pastor there, but because of the name of the main man. Okay? While you may be there and have ability to restructure and management and stuff, you must know that the people are loyal not to you, to the main man. But if you have transformational leadership style, in a short time, they will be loyal to you as well. Do we get it now? So in a situation like that, the minister needs to pray. It's like when I was kicked out of CSC, eventually. Why was I kicked out of CSC? And they accused me that I was catching witches. And I never caught any witch, but witches are voluntarily confessing and demons are coming out of them by voluntary. Anyway, I was in Baptist. I was told that I was making people speak in tongues and I'm healing people, and they kicked me out in Baptist. I went to my own people, but they knew me not. And they said I was catching witches and I kicked out. What did I do? I came back to London for 7 days, fasting and praying and asking God. I told God, I want to join Church of England. Bishop Curry, George Curry was the Archbishop. And before I was Archbishop, myself and my pastor, Don Bishop, from Aracas, we prayed for him. And then he was appointed. So I said, let me go join him because he's a man full of the Spirit. And on the 7th day, the Lord showed me an open vision of Christ Faith Tabernacle. And it says that I ordained Christ Faith Tabernacle to be a ministry in Christ Apostolic Church. That's what the Lord told me. He said, he said to me that, but I came, he said, I came to my own, they knew me not. As many who knew me, I gave them part of the resource of God. He said, that's how they did to me. He said, because CSC have kicked you out, I will build my church and the gates of hell cannot. And I said, I don't know how to start church. He said, I will build my church. So the skill I had in CSC, in Baptist, brought people to Baptist and the whole place was jammed. I met 16 people there. By the skill God has given me, within 1 year, they went over 80-something. That's where Pastor Sidney, Pastor Decided wife, joined me. I went to CSC. I did crusade in 90 days. That church received 1,500 new converts from Islam, from witches and warlords. They kicked me out. So now the Lord told me, I told the Lord, I want to work with Anglican. And the Lord said, no, start it. And the Lord helped me know. When CSC was sent, they were given the name Faith Tabernacle. He said, I'm taking you back to the roots of that church. And that's what I did in Christ Faith Tabernacle. All the principles that those fathers taught in CSC, that's what you find here. Not the new CSC. Not CSC Reformed. The old CSC. That's what I'm teaching. Look at our hymn, Praise the King of Glory. It's the song of those fathers. The song we read is from those fathers. We sing that shall be sounds of blessing, the song of those fathers. That which I did among them, which they hindered me, is giving result now in CFT. So that is the way concerning transformational leader. You see, transformational leader or a servant leader, God cannot afford you to be wasted if you got it right. And I want you to understand this. The principle I told you, the qualities I told you is what you should look for in your system for you to be able to say that you are transformational. Not the activity, but the qualities that I need. And you can never, lack anything. Let me hear that sister, and that's the last question because she raised her hand up to her. And then we go for our coffee. Don't worry, it's getting more excited because questions will bring out some practical issues. Yes,
Okay, I came to the meeting last year and you went through high impact leadership and particularly the traits or the qualities of a leader. Now, in this season, some of us are going for interviews, job interviews and scholarship interviews. And I saw some of these traits recently, fairly recently, in terms of being a barrister. So as I'm going for a scholarship interview, last year they got me out on this question: why do you want to become a barrister? So, but I've seen these traits already now whilst I was applying to certain chambers, and all of them basically are the qualities that they need. So my question is, in terms of, because we can't go through all of them, but in terms of resilience, can you basically give me an example of how I can use that to personalize it to myself, or maybe even scriptural examples as well? Thank you.
Resilience, the first thing is that let's look at the meaning of resilience itself. I think I gave you that, and I gave you scriptures on it already. But let me go back to because I want to stay within the context of your learning. Let me say that the best example of resilience, you find them in two characters. Daniel. When Daniel was told, haven't they in chapter 5 tried to catch him with the law of the government affairs and stuff, and they found none. They said, we may catch him by the law of his God. So they set up an obstacle where they said, King, build an image because you are the king. Nobody should ask for anything from any God but from you. Okay? Nobody should pray to any God. So, but however, there was a man called Daniel who bowed his knees 3 times a day and prayed to the God of Israel. And he opened his window to Jerusalem when he prays. And he prays loud. He was a Pentecostal rascal prayer. And the Bible says that he heard the news and the decree was against him, and he decided to dare it. And he prayed as he does, knowing the consequence that he will end up to be eaten by lions. And that is resilience. He did it. He dared it. What about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? They said that they built a golden image and said, everybody should bow down, compromise your faith. If you don't, we'll throw you in the furnace. And they said, we will not. We will not bow down to that idol. That is resilience. So therefore, if you look at resilience, resilience is the potential for man not to be disfocused regardless of any challenging situations. Anything that challenges your purpose, you will not be disfocused. That's how I can conclude the definition of resilience. And if any company will take you, especially in law, you want to be a barrister. A barrister should be able to have great resilience in the sense that they bring you a person who the charges against that person, by all evidence, point to the fact that the person was guilty. However, by fact, it's not. So a barrister must be very resilient, because if you are not resilient, once you see evidence is brought together, you will be discouraged, despondent. But if you are resilient, let me give you an example of the case of Donald Trump. When the assembly was presenting several papers about Donald Trump, there was a barrister there who spoke too excellently. If for the speech of that barrister, if he was not a QC, he should be the QC. He checked the whole documents. He read the whole, whether 200 something pages or 200 something pages. And he found out that there is no line that's accused him of what they profess. Everything suggests that they think he or somebody said. And so, all evidences in the whole bundle is hearsay in law. And the guy just came up and said that, show me a word or a line that said, and he did this. And they couldn't present it. He said everything you wrote in your bundle is what we call in law hearsay. And hearsay is baseless. So that's resilience. As a barrister, they give you a case to go and do in 3 days. And they give you a bundle, you may have not to sleep for 3 days reading, and your head must be correct, you must be alert, and you must go to court. That is resilience. So resilience, therefore, is an ability a person possesses that when he focuses to achieve something, nothing, no challenge can disfocus him. That is resilience. And you did that. God bless all of you. Let's go and drink coffee now, and then we'll come back and we'll look at building mega church. I'm sure you have been blessed. All right then.